Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to tell you something. The most difficult request to be given to a writer is to ask him to deliver a speech in such great occasion, such as the homecoming of Bangabandhu and the 15th anniversary of the Independence Day of Bangladesh, because the writer cannot express himself in a better way in just 80, in a speech of 800 or even 1,000 words. But to me, as a writer, I find it more profitable to write big books of 200 pages or even 300 pages to express myself and to release all my thoughts. Anyway, so forgive me, I'm going to express my impressions briefly about this day in which I am among you to celebrate two very important and historical occasions in the history of Bangladesh. First of all, when I received the invitation letter from Mr. Abdullah Al-Hadi, the president of 31st BCS Cadre Association, it came to my mind that he is an old man like me. By the way, I'm not so old as some people could imagine. About 30 years ago, I was 35 years old. So it's a very short period. So when I came here, I realized my mistake. When I met Mr. Abdullah and his colleagues, I discovered that they are members of the young generation in Bangladesh who inherited an independent and free country and are now rallying around their great leader, Sheikh Hasina, to continue the achievements of their parents and grandparents and to deepen the stability and prosperity of their country. So also I realized that the majority of people in this hall are young people. So this is this is good omen. It means that Bangladesh will always be young. It will never be old. So while I was writing my book, Sheikh Hasina or Hasina, because this is literary title, Hasina Facts and Mythology, I was aware that I am not writing a history book, because the history of Bangladesh is your own property, and you have great writers and great historians who already documented your modern history and documented the liberation war, but I was keen to depict certain moments in the lives of victims. I was keen to depict certain events which which gave rise to the free Bangladesh and independent country like RUPKATHA. I would say that the dimensions of atrocity committed by the Muslim Pakistani army and their allies, the extremists and fundamentalists who belong to Jama'ah Islamiyah, like what we have in the Arab region, against co-religionists were so shocking, unimaginable. Tears welled, frankly speaking, I'm very sincere. Tears welled in my eyes when I was recording the sufferings, physically and psychologically, of women and girls who were subjected to mass rape only because they rallied around their Bangabandhu to defend their country and gain independence and break the bondage of slavery. The atrocity caused to the people of Bangladesh and their leader, Bangabandhu and his family, are compared to the Holocaust against Jews at the hands of the Nazi in Germany. But you know, Jews control, I mean Israel, control the international media, and it could influence the international media to shed light on what happened during the Holocaust in Germany. But certain powers, certain major powers, until now are trying to obscure the history of the liberation war and the sufferings of the Bangladeshi people during this liberation war. But time will come when the whole world come across the atrocities of Muslims against Muslims. And this is always my point in my country, in Egypt. And I'm going to explain to you later my point in this way. So again, the atrocities caused to the people of Bangladesh and their leader Bangabandhu are compared to the Holocaust committed against Jews by the Nazi regime in Germany. The difference, this is my point, the difference lies in the fact that the genocide against the people of Bangladesh was committed by co-religionists. The killers were Muslims, and they shouted Allah Akbar to celebrate the achievement of their crime. On the other hand, the victims were also Muslims, and they murmured Ashhadu anna la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah before they breathed their last breath. Crazy, isn't it? On this occasion, I humbly claim myself to be the first Arab and Egyptian writer who attempted to shed light on an obscure chapter of a genocide in the history of inter-Muslim conflicts. Even though we have now such atrocities in our region, in Syria, in Yemen, in Libya, in Iraq, but Bangladesh is a different story, unimaginable, indescribable. I mean, what happened to your parents and grandparents during the liberation war. So it was all, this is also very important point, very important point. It was all the more fortunate that, as I said, the killers shouted triumphantly Allah Akbar to celebrate their crime, and the victims murmured, no God but Allah, and Prophet Muhammad is his messenger before they breathe their last breath. On this occasion, I am indebted to the great people of Bangladesh who offered exceptional sacrifices, and their leadership, represented by Bangabandhu and then by his daughter, Sheikh Hasina. I'm indebted to them for much of my literary career, because at first when I started writing this book, I couldn't imagine what happened at that time in a Muslim country, I mean Bangladesh. And even Egyptian readers who happened to read my book, Sheikh Hasina, at first, they couldn't imagine that. Even though we are day and night witnessing what is going on television, I mean, and in the media, what is going on in Syria. But some of them told me, oh, you are writing fiction. This could not happen to any Muslim nation at the hands of a Muslim nation. But I confirmed to them that I couldn't express the tragedy in Bangladesh as it was in my mind. I persuaded them to search newspapers at that time, because some of those who read my book were journalists, my colleagues. And you will realize that what happened in Bangladesh cannot by any means compared to what is going on in Syria and in Yemen or in Libya. I'm sorry because I prepared this speech in Egypt before coming here, and because the event is great, I changed it, as I told you, 4 times, deleting these words, deleting these lines, writing another lines. But in the end of the day, I managed. In my book, Hasina, Facts and Mythology, which, as I told you, the first book in Arabic, the first book in the Arabic library, I tried to explain, and this is very important point, I tried to explain to the Arab readers why and how Sheikh Hasina is destined since her birthday to take up the mantle of leadership after the tragic death of her father, Bangabandhu. Sheikh Hasina has carved a niche for herself in the history of great women who bravely and efficiently, Sheikh Hasina has carved a niche for herself in the history of great women who bravely and efficiently pioneered their nations to make a better future. Okay? But Sheikh Hasina is the exception. Sheikh Hasina is the exception. And we are in a Muslim community, and I'm sure you are going to understand what I mean, why Sheikh Hasina is the exception among all those great women. However, Sheikh Hasina remained the exception. She broke that centuries-old religious taboo, which denied the Muslim woman, regardless of her qualifications or efficiency or potentials, denied her the right to lead her Muslim nation. Sheikh Hasina broke this taboo. She is a Muslim woman and she is leading a Muslim nation. She is more successful than other leaders, I mean men, in our Muslim countries. Their countries are engaged in wars, civil wars, engaged in or immersed in poverty, and your country is stable, your economy is rising, your stability is deepened. under the leadership of Sheikh Hasina. This is very important. You as Muslim people, you should take note of this fact. Sheikh Hasina is a Muslim woman, and she broke that centuries-old religious taboo which prevented or used to prevent a Muslim woman to lead a Muslim nation, irrespective of her qualifications or her potentials. But Sheikh Hasina succeeded and is still continuing her achievement. That's why Sheikh Hasina is the exception. Now, by the way, a foreign woman, not a Muslim woman, a foreign woman, I want to attract your attention to the strange mind in my region, or Muslim mind. Sometimes I can't say, but you will understand what I mean. By the way, a foreign woman, her name is Miss Stephanie Williams. She's an American, and she's appointed special envoy by the United Nations to make peace in Libya. Foreign woman, non-Muslim. And she appointed a woman, foreign, non-Muslim, appointed to help Libyan adversaries who know the Muslim Sharia very well, who know that Allah teaches us and calls for peace. Don't kill your Muslim brother. But we ignore the Muslim Sharia. We ignore the Muslim Sharia. But when a foreign woman went to Libya and she summoned the Libyan adversaries, come here, stop war, and come to listen to me. They listened to her advice and ignored the advice in the Holy Quran and in the Muslim Sharia. They let down their arms and came, sat with a woman, Miss Stephanie Williams, like disciplined children. They just listened to her like this. Oh, what do you want us to do to make peace in our country? This is ridiculous. This is my point. I can't understand the minds of today's Muslims in my region. In my region, of course. I hope my idea reached you. It is all the more ridiculous that these Muslim adversaries in Libya refuse to follow the Muslim Sharia. Again, in my region, in the Arab world, we are killing each other in the name of Allah. When we kill our victim, we say Allahu Akbar to celebrate. And when we are exhausted and we want to make peace, we obey the international law. We obey the international law. If Mr. Trump or Mr. Biden or the Russian President, Vladimir Putin, ordered us to stop fighting, otherwise we are going to sanction you, we immediately stop fighting. But if we listen to Sheikh or someone reminds us that Allah prevents the killing of Muslims at the hand of Muslims, we ignore this advice. This is very bad and very unfortunate. Ladies and gentlemen, Bangladesh, in my view, is the land of exceptions, as I explained. You offered exceptional sacrifices in the history of inter-Muslim conflicts. And you have an exceptional leadership of Sheikh Hasina. On this occasion, I would say that your armed forces, I mean the Bangladesh Army, also has an exceptional task, unlike any foreign army in other countries. This morning, I read a statement by General Shahiuddin Ahmed, the Chief of Staff of the Bangladesh Armed Forces. He said that Bangladesh Army is now of world class, equipped properly, has modern arms, but because Sheikh Hasina is a visionary, she realized from the beginning, the moment she assumed her office, that strong armies should not be used to destroy others, to destroy cities, to kill others. One day, I read a statement she said during UN Congressional UN General Assembly session that, take care of this point, Bangladesh has the largest number of peacekeeping troops deployed by the UN in volatile areas across the world. So, the exceptional task given to the Bangladesh Army is to help preserve peace, stop civil wars or ethnic conflicts in different areas. Other armies, I mean foreign armies, go to war against neighbors, against others, to destroy, to kill. But Sheikh Hasina realized that your country's strong army should be instrumental to preserve international peace. This gave me the idea. I wonder why the Nobel Peace Prize, or when the Nobel Peace Prize would make history and give the Bangladesh Armed Forces the its prize, I mean Nobel Peace Prize, because this army, I think it is the only army in our world which is dedicated or deployed by the UN to help preserve peace, observe a ceasefire, and separate warring factions here and there in different countries in the world. I think the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, if it gives its prize to the Bangladesh Army because of its international task, I think it will make history and persuade other countries to follow. For example, when the Nobel Peace Committee gave its prize to a writer, other writers try to do itself. So this is the task, this is the responsibility of Nobel Peace Prize Committee to encourage other strong armies, other strong governments, major powers to dedicate their armies to spread peace, not to cause distractions to others. 2 days ago, the Nobel Peace Committee, Peace Prize Committee, issued a statement telling the Ethiopian Prime Minister, he is the Nobel Peace Laureate, he won this prize, telling him he has the responsibility to stop the war in his country, because the Ethiopian Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, wore the combat fatigue and went to war against his own people in Tigray. So I'm still wanting to see the Nobel Peace Prize Committee to offer its prize to the Bangladeshi army, because again, it is the only army in the world which is not for destruction, is not for aggression, is not for invasion. But Sheikh Hasina, I remember telling the United Nations, I can't remember now when, that her country, she means of course Bangladesh, has the largest number of peacekeeping troops under the UN in different areas. So when I read the statement by Chief of Staff of Bangladesh Army that the Bangladesh Army is now of world class, I realized that all these capabilities and modern weapons given to the Bangladesh Army is for peace, not for destruction. I want to end my speech. I took a long time from your time, and I congratulate you on your leadership, your great people, your history. You always set examples for other Muslim countries, and also I express my deep respect to women and girls, to great leader Sheikh Hasina. She is the exception among world leaders. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.